Hello, welcome to another Liam A6 YouTube video. Today, I'm going to be testing games. I'm going to be testing games that you guys recommended on my community post, and there was a lot of them. I was actually not expecting that many people to comment on that, so that's very epic. There was a lot more games recommended than I expected, so I didn't cover all of them in this video, but I prioritized games that I own first. I did buy a couple of games just to test because I thought they'd be good test cases, but yeah, hopefully I picked up the game that you wanted to see. I got quite a few in here, so yeah, all of these games are running on game native at 720p, and I'm using the AYN Thor Pro. I always forget to say which model of Thor I have, and that does kind of matter here because the Max has more RAM than the Pro. So if you're going to be doing a lot of PC gaming, I would recommend doing the Max, but here I'm testing on the Pro because the Pro wasn't as expensive as the Max. But if you want to do a lot of PC gaming, RAM is pretty important, but you can actually see my RAM usage on the bottom screen, and I don't really push it that far. Like, I don't know if it throttles itself before hitting max RAM or what, but I never cap out on RAM, so keep that in mind. But again, the bigger part, honestly, is the internal storage. I only have 256 gigs of storage on this, which is enough for 2 big games, maybe 1 big game. So a lot of these games I tried to pick out were smaller so that I can install them all and play them all, but some of them I had to clear out my library just to install 1 game. A little annoying, can't lie. So again, PC gaming, probably go with the Max, but for testing purposes, I am using the Thor. The Thor Pro. I'm using the Pro. Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, the first game that I tested is Don't Starve Together. That is a game that I got gifted actually a little while ago by a buddy of mine, and I feel like it's the perfect type of game for the Thor. It's like a top-down sort of view, which I really enjoy playing on handhelds, and yeah, it ran super good. It started up in windowed mode, which is a little annoying when games do that, so I just went into the settings and set it to full screen, and I was good to go. There were no issues. The controller was automatically working properly, which is nice. It was running at 720p, and I think I was using Proton 9 on this one. Usually I don't mess with which Proton version is being used. Sometimes it's automatically set to 10, 11, or 9 are usually the 3. But yeah, it ran really well. Generating the world and logging in took a little bit of time, but I believe multiplayer should work on this. I didn't get any error messages saying anti-cheat or anything was going to cause me problems. So yeah, I just booted up in a solo world and it was running great. My mouse was still on the screen, which I kind of had to move out of the way. But other than that, I was getting a full 60 frames per second and it ran super smooth. So yeah, no complaints about this one. So big success. You can definitely play this game on the Thor. If you haven't, you should give it a try. Now, the next few games I tried were friend swap games. Someone actually mentioned that on the community post, so I thought that'd be a good idea to give it a shot. I own way more friend swap games than I'd like to admit. I buy them, play them once, and then never play them again. But the first game of the long line of friend swap games is Peak. That game is actually a lot of fun. That was probably my favorite, or at least one of my favorite friend swap games. And this one ran better than I expected, to be honest. It was kind of sketchy at the start, but once I went into the settings and turned down all of the graphic settings, it ran a lot better. The big one here was shadows. Once you turn shadows completely off, it runs way better than it would otherwise. So I highly recommend doing that. And yeah, it ran really well. The next friend swap game I tried was REPO, and REPO actually ran just as well. I was kind of expecting it to run about as well as Peak. They seem like they were built on the same engine. I feel like these are all Unity games. I could be wrong about that, but they kind of have that Unity feel to them. If you know, you know. It was running perfectly fine. I turned the settings all the way down as usual, 720p, and yeah, I was getting, it dropped really low when I was entering the level from like the initial setup portion of the game. I don't even know what it's called, the like level prep or whatever you do, where you buy your items and stuff. But after that, I was out in the world and I was getting around 30 frames per second. I've said it before and I'll say it again, 30 frames per second is not that bad on the Thor. It's definitely playable. For people who own the Thor, they know, because playing Switch games, you're capped at 30 anyway. So it's just like, it's not that bad. And I think it has a lot to do with the smaller screen. Like 30 frames per second on a monitor for a PC sucks. It sucks cheeks, dude. But on the smaller screens, 30 frames is not bad. Definitely playable. So that was my little rant. Anyway, REPO ran great. So if you have REPO and you have a Thor, give it a go. It definitely works. I booted it up into a multiplayer lobby, same with Peak, and I didn't hit any issues with anti-cheat. Everything seemed to be working just fine. The next game I tried was Content Warning, another sort of friend swap game. Same idea as Peak and REPO. And this one actually did stop me. This one wouldn't run at all. The second you try to load into a game, you get an error, failed to authenticate with servers. So there is a level of anti-cheat or something going on here that stops you because your emulating the game, which sucks. I tried different versions of Proton as the compatibility layer, and that still wouldn't work. So this game I could not get running in the slightest, which really sucks. And I was kind of shocked by that since the other two games ran, but I guess there's different stuff going on their servers as opposed to Peak and REPO, so I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to try and understand it. All I know is it did not work for me. If it worked for you and there's a setting that I missed, please let me know. But yeah, unfortunately, I could not get this one working. The next game I tried, I feel like this is like the OG friend slot game. This game was such a banger in its day. I played it like 10 years ago. I used to love this game. It's called Gang Beasts, and it's kind of just like you're in a ring with other players and you're trying to throw them off the ring. It's kind of like a goofy sort of game. It's got the same sort of physics as like Human Fall Flat, if you've played that game before. Great game, and it ran really well. I was getting like 60 frames. The problem here is that I was getting like graphical glitching issues. So not necessarily performance issues, but just kind of these weird blocky sort of pixelated textures. It's kind of hard to explain, so I'll just show you what it looked like. And it was especially bad on this one level where I was on an arena that kind of looked like a lighthouse, I think, and it was just pretty crazy. It was pixels all over the place. Oh yeah, this level here with all the wieners flying around. It was just bugging. It was bugging hard.
Yo, why you bugging?
But I was getting 60 frames. Like, it wasn't stuttery. It wasn't unplayable. It just looked like shit. So I don't know. You can decide for yourself if you think this is playable or not. I think it kind of is. I mean, this game isn't serious, so it's like whatever. I'm not trying to go pro with Gang Beasts here, but yeah, it ran smooth. It looked like garbage, I'll be honest, but it ran. So a dub's a dub. We take those. Next game I tried was Outlast, and this one was kind of shocking. So this is Outlast 1, and it ran really well. I did not get very far in the game because it scares the hell out of me, but I played more of the game on my computer. I didn't finish it because it's just, I don't know, too scary. But I again, same as Gang Beasts, I was getting this weird graphical issue, and it's not the same graphical issue, but there was this weird flickering, this gray light flickering that was happening, and I think it has to do with like shaders or something, like light beams, or why am I trying to understand how these games work? I don't know why I was doing this, but it was doing it, and that's all I can say. So I tried running it on different versions of Proton. Sometimes that can fix things up. I tried Proton 9, 10, and 11. Those are like the three main versions to test, and none of them fixed that issue. So same issue as Gang Beasts, ran well, but weird graphical glitching. So I would say probably playable, but I didn't go very far into the game, and it's unfortunate, but I don't want to play all the way through all of these games. That would just simply take forever. These are all great games, but it's hard to say if it's running well. Like, I can only speak for the parts that I did play while testing, which is usually only the beginning section of these games. So some people have brought up that some of the games that I have tested crash later on or run into graphical issues later on, and I kind of just can't really speak to that. It's impossible to know at what point a game will crash, so I can just speak to these intro sections that I try out. The bigger thing here is that it runs, so it boots up and you can get into the game and I can see the frames. That's kind of what I'm looking for here. A deeper testing of the game is not really something I can do. I just don't really have the time to do it. But yeah, honestly, Outlast, it seems like it has the potential to be playable. The beginning section's unfortunate because it's quite a bit of a different atmosphere than once you're in the building and playing the game and in the dark and everything. There could be a whole slew of other graphical issues in there, or the graphical issues could be fixed. I don't know. I just wanted to get through the kind of starter section here, and honestly, the game scares the hell out of me, and I didn't want to go any further because I didn't want to get scared. So the next game I tried was Portal 2, and this one ran shockingly well. This one ran super good. It had no issues. I didn't have to mess with the container settings or the Proton version or any of that. Now, this runs on the Half-Life 2 engine, same as Counter-Strike, and I almost tested Counter-Strike. I installed it, went to boot it up, and I was like, wait a minute. I've had a lot of issues with a lot of these games in anti-cheat. If I get VAC banned for trying to play this game on a Thor, I'll scream, because I have skins, and the skins are worth money, and I don't have a lot of that, so I don't want to lose my shit just because I'm trying to play a game on the Thor. So maybe I can use a different account or something like that to try and test Counter-Strike in the future. But yeah, like I said, I was impressed with Portal. Everything ran well. I had a save going, so I was on this level with this like white goop flying around everywhere. So I feel like it's a more graphically intense level than other levels, and it was running like I had 60 frames pretty much all the way through. It was pretty impressive. Don't mind me not being able to figure out how to play this level. I have beaten the game though. I've beaten the game, so don't come at me, man. I've beaten the game. I just don't remember this level, and I didn't feel like figuring it out. So just testing for frames here, everybody, and it ran and had good frames. So if you have Portal and you have a Thor, play the game. It's a good game. The next game I tried was Valheim. This is a game that I kind of found hard to run on my gaming PC when it first came out. Now that could have been a new game issue, optimization stuff. I probably played it in early access or something. I can't imagine it's in early access anymore. This game took a long time to load up. Like, I mean, before I was in the world, it took like 8 minutes to get into the world, which is kind of crazy. But once I was in, it was running well. I had 30 frames, which is honestly like not great, but impressive. It's impressive for the hardware we are trying to run this game on. And I was running around, I killed a guy, chopped down some stuff, and yeah, I was kind of holding it down around the 30 FPS range. Definitely playable, 100% playable. I don't know what your tolerance is for frames. Some people just simply cannot look at 30 frames per second, and I understand that, but I'm telling you right now, the smaller screen makes it so much better. I wouldn't recommend this game on PC if you're only getting 30 frames, but on the Thor, it's a different story. So give it a try if you have the game. Thumbs up for Valheim. The next game I tried was actually recommended on the community post again. It's called Rogue Waters. I've never actually heard of this game before, but it's on sale on Humble Bundle if you want to pick it up. Thank you for telling me that, Mr. Guy on my community post. But this game is like a sort of turn-based pirate game, and the big thing about this one is making sure your settings are turned down way low, and I mean specifically the water settings. You can see at the start I kind of had water enabled, like the waves and stuff and the effects were going, and I was getting around 25 to 30 frames. Disabling that water helped a lot. Once I disabled the water, I was above 30 frames for the majority of my gameplay, and I feel like with a turn-based strategy game, you don't really need a ton of frames, so it seemed super playable to me. So I would say it's playable, but I feel like there's probably some pros at this game out there that would laugh at me for saying that. But if you're just trying to play this game casually, absolutely playable on the Thor, 100%. I don't see why you couldn't. And I was kind of having some fun with it. I can't lie. It seems like a cool game. The next game I tried was pretty bold. I tried Helldivers. Helldivers 2. This is an awesome game. I've played so much of this on my gaming PC, but it wouldn't run on the Thor. It simply wouldn't start up. I tried it with Proton 9, 10, and 11, and it simply did not work, which is very sad because it took a hot minute to install. But yeah, I can't recommend this one. Couldn't even get into the menu or anything. I think there might have been an anti-cheat issue there. I was getting a Game Guard fatal error, whatever that is. That kind of sounds like an anti-cheat thing to me, which makes sense. This is a super online sort of game. Like, even when you don't think you're online, you actually are online. It's one of those sorts of games. So I wasn't too surprised about this, but it was kind of sad because I did want to see if the Thor could handle the graphics. It probably can't, but I wanted to try it anyway, but I couldn't even get that far. Couldn't even get to the menu, which kind of sucks. So can't recommend this one, unfortunately. The next game I tried, another recommendation from the community post, Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. I think I do recognize the Armored Core franchise. It's a FromSoft game, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, this game seems sick. Like, I bought it specifically for this test, and the trailer looked dope. But yeah, this one was really annoying because it booted up, and I got into the menus and everything, but the controller wouldn't work. And I have no idea why. I have no idea why the controller wouldn't work. I tried changing a ton of controller settings in the game native section, where you can change your controller to Steam input, or I think it's X input, and some other APIs that you can enable and disable. I tried a slew of different combinations of those enabled and disabled, and no luck. It just did not work, and I kind of had to tap around with the mouse on the screen, and I couldn't get anything working. And so I did some research online, looked it up, and other people were having controller issues with their PCs, like just straight up normal controller. And I was like, okay, if people can't get their controllers working playing this game on a PC, there's no way in hell I'm getting this working on the Thor. So I did give up, but it booted, and it did tell me I couldn't play online, which is kind of normal. That's a pretty normal thing with game native. A lot of games don't like online here, but yeah, I straight up couldn't get into the game, which super duper sucks. But it ran, sort of. You couldn't play the game. So I'm thinking now you probably could plug in a keyboard and mouse. Like, you can plug in a keyboard and mouse to the Thor and just have that work. So maybe that's an option, but at that point, why are you, like, probably just play it on a computer, right? Anyway, can't recommend that one, which is sad. Now, this is the question you've all been waiting for. Can it run Minecraft? And the answer is yes. This can run Minecraft, but you might be thinking, duh, it can run Minecraft. It's on the Android store or whatever, the Google Play Store. And to that, I would say yes, but here we have Java Edition running. So that's like the moddable PC version of the game. And I got it working, which is super hype. I need to check what's the name of this app. I got it running using an app called Zalith Launcher on Android. I think you have to go to their GitHub to get it. I'll put the link to the GitHub in the description, but it works like really well. I had it running at 60 frames per second, and yeah, the world load took some time, obviously, and when you get into the game, I think it takes some time for chunks around to load, and this game is installed on the internal storage, so it's not a limitation of an SD card or anything like that. I think it's just the way we're trying to play this game, but once that kind of figures itself out, full 60 frames, which is super impressive. The only thing I will say is the controller support is not quite as good as it is on the Android version. To move stuff around, like in your inventory, you do have to use like your mouse, but the mouse does work with the analog stick, which is is a nice thing to have. A lot of these games, when you need to use the mouse, you got to touch on the screen, which kind of sucks. So I would say this is absolutely playable. The experience is a little worse, but if you're someone who's super into mods or you like to play on the Java Edition servers or whatever, this is definitely an option and super playable. Also, this is a world that I just kind of made on here, a single player world, and I think it might just be like a god spawn for speedrunners. Like I spawned right next to one of those things, the nether portal thing. I've seen a lot of people get those spawns and then just beat the game in 5 minutes. So probably less than that, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, the game worked. It ran really well. Definitely give it a try if you have a Thor and you have Minecraft. In the launcher, you have to download the launcher and then install the version of Minecraft that you want to play through the launcher. But once that's all done, you're good to go. And you can install different versions if you want to play an older version or like an April Fool's version. I think they have a tab for April Fool's versions of the game. But yeah, ran super well and I was super happy about it. So ending it on a good note. Those are all the games I tested. If you have any questions about any of these games, feel free to ask me in the comments or any other games. You can also tune into my Twitch stream. I stream almost every day and you can ask me there if you want, just in the chat. Also, we have a new community member. Yay! Thank you, Born4, for joining. I appreciate it, man. Very cool. We now have 2 community members, which is very epic. So that is Snipe and Born4. You guys are super cool chillers, man. I appreciate it. Once again, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Any questions, leave them below. And yeah, you guys have a good day. Later.
Bro's not even real. Oh? No. 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 You're real to me. You're real to me.